This is a picture of my blood uncle, my Uncle Fargo, my birth father Joe's older brother. One of the nicest men I've ever met in my life. He has since passed. This is him and I and Marie at his apartment in Texas. When I was young, 3 or 4, my mom had divorced Joe, but Joe had visitation. And according to the story my mom tells me, my mom got a phone call one day that basically said, the next time that Joe comes to pick up Joey, and everybody called me Joey at the time, he's going to take him and you're never going to see him again. So my mother took that to heart, and Joe had always said, I'll be able to find you. I know people at IRS and DMV and yada, yada, yada. And, you know, Joe hung around some pretty unsavory people sometimes. They rented a table at the card club, at the Owl Club, I think it was called. And Joe and my grandfather Norman ran the table and, you know, took a cut of the action, and they also played at the table. So, you know, okay, you know, you kind of probably hang around some people that maybe you shouldn't be. Anyway, my mom took this to heart, and she child napped me. I never saw anyone again of my birth father's side, ever. I never saw Joe again. Joe died. I know nothing. My mom literally dropped off the earth. She worked for cash. She was a housekeeper, and that's actually how she met my dad. So, you know, it was, but when she went to work for IRS, she disclosed it all, because they told her, if we catch you lying by omission, you're not going to get hired. So my mom fessed everything, and they hired her anyway. So, you know, it was a different time. Anyway, I had to get my passport to go on the Alaska cruise. And long story short, we had to find out where Joe was born. My mom found the obituary, oddly enough, in the Coos Bay paper. And long story short, I paid one of these internet search places to find me some addresses, and I mailed a mailer with my birth certificate and some pictures and a letter to my stepmother Bev, my brother Norman, and my sister Zona. A dozen addresses. Well, some of them were right because they all got them. And Zona has chosen to not reach out to me, and I respect that. Norman and I have a relationship. I don't talk to him much, and he's doing his own thing. And then Bev and I have had a little closer relationship, though. In all the time I was in Coos Bay, we only saw her twice because I was so damn sick, and then the COVID came, so, you know, there was nothing, and then we left Coos Bay. Anyway, in fact, Bev, there's 2 Bevs in Coos Bay, and I sent to the right one, and actually, it says to me, I sent to them both. And Bev said that, you know, she got home from a trip, and she opened up the envelope, and she pulls out the picture, and I mean, I look just like Joe. And she thought, my God, it's Joey. I've heard about him, but, you know, after a while, it just upset Joe so bad to have my name mentioned that nobody mentioned me anymore. He was heartbroken about it. Now, whether my mom should or shouldn't have done it, I'm not going to make that judgment. She did what she thought was best, but, you know, I really should have been able to see him as an adult out of the house, especially when I lived in Stockton. My wife working for the sheriff's office, which means my license plates are blocked, which meant even if he did have somebody at DMV to run my plate, if he snuck out and saw my plate, you know, walking me out, he remembers the plate, he wasn't going to get anything because it's blocked. So, and that's a sore spot with me. So anyway, I'm talking to Bev, and the plaintiff and I go up and see Bev, and well, she says that she has talked to Fargo, and Fargo's alive, and he lives in Texas. So on our way home, I call Fargo, and he's just the nicest man. Anyway, I'm still working, so I don't get to Texas. And then the plaintiff and I divorce, and then Marie and I make a second go of it. And I told her, I want to go to Texas as soon as we can. And on our first year, we did go to Texas, and we met Fargo. And I knock on the door, and Marie's standing back a touch, and the door opens to the apartment. And I look at this guy, and by God, he looks just like my birth name. He looks at me, I look at him, and he basically starts to cry. I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed even telling you this. He looks at me and says, I've loved you since the day you were born. I've never stopped loving you, and I prayed to God and Jesus Christ that you would find your way to me eventually. And we talked. I mean, he didn't badmouth Joe, and I didn't badmouth what I had heard from my mom and from my, at the time, dad, Doug, who is another guy that fucked me. But we just had the most pleasant. And the two or three times that we stayed twice, 2 winters in Texas, and we drove out to see him both times. And he's just he just so loved Marie, and he filled me in on a lot of different things that I really didn't know. So he was just the nicest man. And he got sick and went to the hospital, and Bev had called me, and I managed to call him at the hospital the night before he died, and I told him that I loved him, and I was so glad to have met him, and he died the next day, and that was that. So this is actually one of the few blood relatives I've really ever seen, and outside of my brother Norman, he's the only blood relative on Joe's side that I've seen since my mother absconded with me when I was 3 years old. So this is my Uncle Fargo, and Marie and I. He was a good man. Thank you for watching Storytime with Joe, and enjoy your day.